Hello, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is What Now. Welcome to the program. I am Precious Amayu. Let's begin in Asia, where Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, a Democrat Party, LDP, led by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, has won Japan's snap election, which held on Sunday. Public broadcaster NHK projected the LDP-led coalition to win 352 of 465 seats, with the LDP alone securing a strong majority. Prime Minister Takaichi, who is Japan's first prime minister, called the election just 4 months after taking office, as seeking a clear public mandate. Her gamble appears to have paid off, reversing losses suffered by her predecessors amid corruption scandals and rising living costs. The result gives Takaichi broad power to advance her conservative agenda, including high defense spending and possible constitutional change. While supporters credit her populist messaging and strong social media presence for energizing voters, critics warn her spending promises could strain Japan's already high public debt. International affairs analyst and partner Gainful Solutions, Stephen Hayes, joins me from the U.S. for more on this. Good to have you join us, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Precious. Good to be here again.
So the victory comes just after 4 months, or 4 months after Prime Minister Takaichi called for a snap election, and many analysts have thought that it was a big gamble for her party. But it looks like she has now secured the public mandate. Do you think?
Well, she has a super majority, and so she does certainly have a big public mandate. I think it's the largest one in Japanese electoral history. So she is in a very, very strong position now. The upper house, which really doesn't have the same strength as the lower parliament, does not have a LDP majority, but close enough that it shouldn't pose any problem for her mandates and for what she wants to get accomplished.
Now, her apparent success is marked contrast to her two predecessors, under whom the party lost its parliamentary majority, and that was due to corruption scandals and rising costs. What did she do differently?
Well, I think she related to the younger people, and that seemed to be a very critical part of the electorate this time. The young and the middle class went especially in her favor as opposed to the past. I think the younger voters were disappointed, I should say, in the corruption, was disgusted perhaps, and I think that she has made a much larger appeal to that. I think Japan is looking like a lot of countries right now in this era was looking for a different approach, and I think that particularly in a patriarchal society like Japan, having a woman as prime minister was not only a first, but very, very different from the cultural pattern. So I think that they're looking for something different as well. I think that played very much in her favor, and she certainly took the female vote as well.
And let's talk about that different approach as we look at some of her policies or her projected policy proposals. Her party, the LDP, has been seeking to revise the country's pacifist constitution since its founding in 1955. She has said that she would pave the way for an eventual referendum on the issue. Is she better positioned than her predecessors to deliver such results?
Yes, she is, because the times are different now. The tensions between China and Japan have certainly increased. I think there's a growing concern of China's growing military might as well in the region. And so I think that the pacification era may be to an end. I think it was already, in fact, drawing to an end. The previous Prime Minister Abe had advocated strongly for greater military spending. There's certainly been a lot of pressure from the United States, particularly President Trump, to increase the defense spending. And the Prime Minister Takaichi is very much in favor of increasing defense spending as well, and which will also play to a stronger Japan-U.S. alliance.
And you've touched on three things that I would want us to look at as we talk about this very next question. One of them is the China question, and then former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who is her mentor, who was a mentor, and then just the free market in Japan, which she's advocating now. She says she's looking to revisit the free and open Indo-Pacific advocated by former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe 10 years ago. And then again, the Trump question comes in. The first Trump administration adopted the concept of the free and open Indo-Pacific. And that, at that time, they were envisioning like-minded nations upholding a rules-based international order against what they consider revisionist powers. And that was implied to mean China. But Trump now has a softer approach towards China. He's looking to visit China in April. Does she still have that partnership in President Trump in terms of a free and open Indo-Pacific?
Well, I think she does have a partnership as much as anybody has a partnership with Trump right now. He was the first to call her and congratulate her. He's very high in praising her. That could shift at any moment, as we know, too. But she does have a stronger hand. But her challenge is going to be China. China is the largest trading partner with Japan. And so she's going to have to be very, very careful of that as she tries to strengthen the economy as well. She can't alienate China. As, in fact, there already has been heightened strain between China and Japan because of her election, frankly. And so that's going to be really a difficult one to play. In terms of free market, that's going to be very, very different for Japan. We all like to think that the Western economies or Japan have free market economies. They're really somewhat free. They've been controlled heavily in Japan. So to open up the markets more is going to be a risk. I think it's why the stock markets, one of the reasons the stock market has gone up, but it's also going to be a risk and put pressure on various sectors of the Japan economy.
And what are the areas it should likely to have a brush off with China? I know the Taiwan question is there as well.
Well, she opened the door, the Taiwan question, by simply saying that Japan will defend Taiwan. And so that has put her in very strong odds with the political leadership of China, of course. And it also then puts pressure to increase military spending in Japan. So it's going to be, I think, a key issue between China and Japan. It's not going to be easy to resolve, if it can be resolved at all. And so I think that she's got a very strong challenge in terms of the diplomatic role between Japan and China. And as that goes, I'm sure she'll be consulting very strongly regularly with President Trump. And I think she's planning to visit the United States in April, I believe, which would be after Trump's visit to China.
And we're seeing, Japan's politics has now tilted towards the far right. And I was seeing the rise in populist ideals and populism, not just in Japan, but around the world as well. And she's big on populist ideas. Do you think that she would be able to rally some leaders in the region, especially Asia, against China or towards some of her policies in the region?
Well, economics will play a strong role, and Japan's role in the region economically, I think, will help her. Japan has swung to the right, and interestingly, it's on the immigration issue and the amount of foreigners in Japan, which is stunningly small, really, compared to the United States or Germany or Western Europe. There's only total foreign residents is only 3% of the population of Japan, compared to 14% in the United States. But that's an enormous number for Japan, given that it's one of the most, if not the most, homogenous society in the world. So the immigration issue is a major issue in Japan that she's going to have to address. She hasn't, to her credit, I think she hasn't put out solutions, only the fact that she's going to address the issue. Now, what that means, I think, remains to be seen, but I think she could be very careful, because the service economy now is increasingly dependent, as they are in many countries, on immigration. So that's going to be a major challenge and a politically volatile issue in Japan.
And let's talk about that. Japan has had 4 prime ministers in 5 years, all produced by her party. Shigeru Ishiba lasted just about 386 days, barely, that's just a little over a year. Fumio Kishida also lasted 1,095 days, that's over, slightly over 2 years, or 3 years rather. And then Yoshihide Suga lasted 384 days, a little over a year. Now, Japan's government debt, we were talking about that earlier, is now more than 200% of its GDP. Right now, she's talking about stimulus spending and tax cuts, and that is splitting public opinion. Do you see her outliving her predecessors in office?
Well, I think she'll stay there for a while. Well, first of all, the next election has to be called in 2028 because she's filling the end of the term. So she's got a good 2 years to do that. She's going to increase spending. She's stated that is going to probably put stronger inflationary pressures on the economy, which has been a problem because spending and the cost of food, even in Japan, I should say in Japan as well as other countries, is becoming a major issue, as well as housing. So it's going to be a very tight rope for her to walk. But to question, do I think she'll stay much longer? I do, given the enormous majority of the supermajority that she was able to get. As long as there's no corruption scandals, as is in the past, I think she's going to have a very solid 2 years until the next election, and will be in a strong position to continue. But a lot of it, I think, will, like most countries, will be domestic issues. And how the economy fares is going to be a very important issue. But the China question, I think, looms very large to the side.
And let's talk about the role that Japan could play on the global order as she's now a prime minister. Japan has, again, because of its pacifist constitution, has taken rather a backseat when it comes to global issues, only speaking once in a while on very pertinent issues. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was a strong leader, but they didn't speak as much on issues that he felt didn't concern Japan. I'm wondering if you see her taking a place as what pushes for a multipolar world.
I think she has to. Japan's the fourth largest economy in the world. It's the second largest in Asia. I think the growing concern on China's dominance or potential dominance is a concern to many countries. And the stability of the U.S. leadership has been in question throughout the last year or two. So I think that there's going to have to be a linchpin in Asia, particularly, and that has to be Japan. There's no other choice to that. So I think Japan will emerge in a stronger role than it has played of late. I think its defense spending will be increasing, and again, I think that's going to create regional tensions that are going to have to be managed very carefully. And like it or not, the United States, particularly President Trump, needs a partner in Asia. And there is no other real partner for him except Japan right now. Certainly he's going to, well, there's nothing certain with the president, but he is talking about lowering the tensions between U.S. and China, and perhaps he will. But again, the Japan relationship is going to be very critical. So I think, to answer your question, yes, she's going to play a stronger role by necessity, if not willingly.
All right, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll see how she navigates the current global order. Partner Gainful Solution and International Affairs Analyst Stephen Hayes, thank you.
Thank you, and always an honor. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. And